Okay. Good evening. Our Parashat Chukat. What is Chukat? Chukat is, as we learned once, there is few levels in mitzvot. There is the mitzvot that they are edut, that they are hinting or they're reminding us of something. For example, Pesach reminding us of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Shabbat reminding us also in Yetziat Mitzrayim, also about creation. And many laws that reminding us about something else. This is edut. Edut is like testimony. So this is the testimony of mitzvot that they are testifying about something else. There is mishpatim, that they are mitzvot that we are understand, and there is understand, for example, that we would do even God did not commanded us to do. For example, not to steal, not to kill. They are mitzvot that called mishpatim. And there is mitzvot that they called chukim. Chukim is mitzvot that even after God told us to do them, we're doing it without any understanding. So why our parasha called Chukat? The chok, the main mitzvah that we don't understand, because this is actually the mitzvah that it's most difficult to understand, not because it's hard to understand, because it doesn't have reasonable explanations, something above it. It's all the laws of purity and impurity. We don't see it in our eyes, how a person changing from being pure to become impure. We don't see any change. We don't see how the changes of the mikveh helping him. We don't see how all the details of the laws helping this person or changing him. So that's why it's the most understandable mitzvot. It's chukah. There is more mitzvot that they are like that, but this is the symbol. And of course, also for that, why is that the symbol? There is explanation, but this is in general. We will not talk about it today. The story of a parasha, we skipped 40 years. Last week, Parashat Shlach, Parashat Korach, we talked before or a bit after God sentenced the generation of Moshe to 40 years in the desert and to replace the people with new generation that will enter Israel. We now talking after the 40 years. Our parasha skipped the 40 years. And telling us few, not small, rather big episodes that happened in our parasha. We have the death, the passing of Miriam and Aaron, two brother and sister of Moshe. We have 3 wars in our parasha. Jewish nation wanted a passing, a way to go inside Israel. They asked from few nations. The first one said no, so the people go back. The second one said not only no, they came with the army outside, so the Jewish people had to fight them. And few wars, Sichon and Og Melech HaBashan, and 3 nations that we had a war with them in our parasha. But this is the end of the parasha. When the parasha telling us about the passing of Miriam, actually the Torah not said it clearly that Miriam passed away. The Torah said that Jewish people had no water to drink. We know that the water in the desert came in the privilege, in the honor, and in the merit of Miriam. Miriam, in her merit, I think this is the right word to say, we had the well of water that traveled with the Jewish nation all over the desert for 40 years. And when she passed away, the water stopped. So we know that episode. It's not the first time the Jewish people don't have water in the desert. 40 years before, also the same episode happened. The Jewish people had no water. In our parasha, God telling Moshe, and this is very, very, very important story because it changed everything. Changed everything. God telling Moshe, Jewish people have no water, so take the stick. We know that Moshe had a stick, Aaron had a stick. God telling Moshe, take the stick and go speak to the water. To the stone, and the stone will give water. Okay? The Torah said that Moshe took the stick and give the stone to, how you say? What would be the word?
I would say slaps. Just slaps.
He slapped the stone 2 times.
To hit the stone.
He hit the stone. Yes.
Yeah, but slapping probably by. Okay.
Slap more talking about the act, the heat. It's what the stone got. Yes, it's the 2 perfect words. No problem. Moshe hit the stone, slapped the stone twice, and then the water came out. God telling Moshe, you and Aaron, because both of you did not took my name and spread it that it will be more important, you did not do Kiddush Hashem, that the name of God will be honored, you will not enter the land of Israel. That was the punishment. So the punishment is very hard. But what was the sin of Moshe and Aaron? This is one of the things that there is most explanations during the generations. In the Jewish rabbis, we have maybe 100 explanations. What was the sin of Moshe and Aaron that God punished them so hard that they not enter Israel? We have the first commentator, Rashi, that's saying very clearly, God told Moshe to speak. Moshe did not spoke, he hit the stone. And if he would speak to the stone, the Jewish people would see how the stone doing what God telling the stone to do. So they will learn from it very much. They will become more closer to God, and he didn't do it. So that was the punishment. On this explanation, we can ask many questions. First question is, so why Moshe hit the stone? Why? Second thing is, the punishment is too hard. And it's not clear what was there. So of course, first of all, I just discussed this. There is 2 things that we need to add to the story. This story, as I said, happened also 40 years ago. Jewish people going out from Egypt, splitting the sea, going outside, have no water. God telling Moshe, take the stick, punch the stone, and water will come from the stone. And this is exactly what happened. So 40 years ago, God told Moshe to take the stick and to hit the stone, and the water will come. Now God telling Moshe, take the stick and speak to the stone. So now maybe we can understand Moshe. Two things. God telling me to take the stick. Why should I take the stick if I'm just speaking to the stone? Second thing is, 40 years ago, he told me to hit the stone, to punch. So now we can understand maybe Moshe better. Can understand him better. But the question stayed: why God? Why speak, not hit? What's going on? What was the mistake? First of all, I will mention the other commentaries that we will understand how. For example, the Rambam said that the sin of Moshe was anger. He was angry. He said, Shimuna Hamorim. This is the word that he said. Hamorim means people that the rebels or people that not every time have problems. And he was angry. And this was not good, because God wasn't angry. This is one explanation. There is more explanations that he hit the stone twice, not once. Or that they said, we will give you water, and not said, God will give you water. Or the Abarbanel said, very interesting commentary, that Moshe and Aaron, you have proofs also from the Torah. I have a lot of proofs that Moshe and Aaron were punished on different things. Moshe was punished because he sent the spies. As we learned, Moshe was the person that sent the spies. Aaron was punished because he's participant in the sin of the golden calf. He did not participate, but he was the person that the Jewish people, through him, built the golden calf. So they both punished on different things. But because the Torah doesn't want to connect Moshe and Aaron to the biggest sins of the Jewish nation, so God telling them, you did not make my name bigger, greater. And then Moshe hinting, he find hints in the words. Moshe later on would say, after the sin of the Meraglim, it said, after in telling that God was angry in the book of Dvarim, in the end, towards the end of the Torah, Moshe saying all the journey that they had in the 40 years. And then Moshe saying, after the sin of the Meraglim, Moshe saying that God was angry also about me. Moshe saying that. We don't find that God was angry on Moshe when the sin of the spies were. We don't find it. And the Abarbanel said, you see, the Torah not saying it clearly, but this was the reason. It's very interesting. There is many explanations, as I said. Moshe wanted to go very much to Israel. Of course. That was his goal of life. Before we will explain the Rashi explanation a little bit deeper, I would say another very, very interesting explanation. I would say it not in detail because it's very complicated. And I think I said it last year here, but it's something that I really like. It's connected to the laws of purity and impure. But we will focus on the words, how we see it from the verses. There is two things. God telling Moshe take the stick. The stick. God doesn't say which stick. Why would it not be Moshe's stick? Of course, he's speaking to Moshe. But we need to remember, last story of the Torah was of Korach. Last week was Korach. In the story of Korach, we didn't talk about it last week, but was there a very big miracle with the stick of Aaron? All the presidents of the tribe put their stick, and Moshe wanted to prove them that God choosing Aaron to be the high priest. So all the presidents of the tribes put their stick in the Holy of Holies. And Aaron taking his stick. And morning after, flowers and almonds, how you say? Almonds. Mendel.
It's almond.
Almond.
Yeah.
Almond growing up from the tree, from the stick of Aaron. That was the sign that God choosing his line of family of Aaron, to grow and to be the priest. That was the sign. It was an amazing miracle. And this is one of the things that were in Holy of Holies many, many years after. Just to remember this miracle and that God chose the Kohanim for eternity. So this stick always stayed in the Holy of Holies. That we know. So Aaron's stick was the last stick that we talked about. And it not only stick that we talked about, is the stick. Stick of Aaron. God telling Moshe, take the stick. That we see from the Torah. And God do not explain what to do. Just take it. And then, this is first hint that we see. And then the second hint we see that Moshe, the Torah said, and Moshe took the stick from God, like God commanded him. First of all, what is from God? The stick of Moshe was probably in the hand of Moshe, or in his tent, not before God. The stick of Aaron was before God. This is the first thing. Second thing is, the Torah is saying that Moshe took it like God commanded them, but in an interesting way. The Torah said, Ka'asher tzivahu, like he commanded him. Few verses after, about a different topic, the Torah said, Ka'asher tzivahu Hashem, like God commanded him. Not like he commanded him. Like it means that Moshe took the stick of Aaron from this commentary, I would say, from who was it? 1 second, but this commentary explained. There is a very big difference between the stick of Moshe and the stick of Aaron. Which you think, what is the difference? The stick of Moshe was from stone. It was a stone. Yeah, it was from a stone. And from a very expensive stone. From a sapphire stone. In English is sapphire, I think it's sapphire. That was the stick of Moshe. The stick of Aaron was from wood. Because the almonds grew up from the stick. It was not a sapphire almonds. It was from wood. What's the difference? The difference is that in the laws of pure and impure things, there is a simple law. It's not so simple, but things becoming impure if they are vessels that I can use. This is the law. For example, this cup can, if something impure will touch it, it will become impure because it's a vessel that I can use. But just something from the ground, a stick from wood that have no use, it will not become impure. If I will take this stick from the ground, and I will do it a vessel that I can use. For example, I will how to say it? I will create from it something that I can use even for to decoration or to drink from it. I will just do a hole in the stick, and then I can pour water and I can drink it. So I can use it. It's a vessel that I can use. It's something, and this can become impure. But stone, it's always stayed part of the ground. It doesn't matter if it's a vessel that I can use or I cannot use. It will always stay pure. It cannot become impure. So stick from wood can become impure. Stick from stone, always pure. Okay. Why the water of the Jewish people? If Moshe using his stick to create the new water, the water stayed pure because the stick was of stone. Stone staying pure. If we're using the stick of Aaron, it's a vessel. It's from wood, and the water become impure. What's the problem that the water is impure? The problem is that the water in the desert was not only water to drink, they also the mikveh. The mikveh is the place that people become impure. And if the mikveh is impure, so there's no mikveh. If there's no mikveh, so it's a big problem. So that was actually this can be a great sin, because this is the only mikveh in the desert. There's no other source of water, and in honor that the husband and wife would be together, they need to have mikveh. So basically, God telling Moshe, according to this explanation, and it's very original. It's not a something that it's well known. But God telling Moshe, take the stick, and God means that He will take the stick of Moshe, of course, because God's speaking to Moshe, and He will hit the stone, and the water will come out, and they will be pure, will be water to drink, and a mikveh. But Moshe is humble. So he said, the stick. He said, the stick. What is the stick? Stick of Aaron, probably. The stick of miracles. The stick that grow flowers from it. And he take the stick and punching the stone. And the water is not pure. And people not going to the mikveh. And then husband and wives fighting. And this is the story of our nation. And this is why God telling Moshe that he did a very big mistake, we can say. So, this is one explanation that I really like, because it's combining, if we look into the details, it's combining also literal words of the Torah that we can learn and can understand, because we're seeing from the verses. We're saying that God telling Moshe, take the stick, and no explanation. And Moshe, we're saying that Moshe took the stick like he commanded him. Why not like God commanded him? Because God did not commanded him to take this stick. That was it's a hint, what was his, and also, he took it from God. It was the stick of Aaron before God. And so it's also combining this literal learning of the words, and also, of course, a deeper learning of halacha, of the Jewish law, because it's not a simple law as what I just said, that the stone, it's according to some opinions and which opinions, and it's very deep idea. This idea was presented by Rabbi of Dvinsk. Where is Dvinsk?
It's a Daugavpils.
Yes. The Rabbi of Dvinsk was Rabbi Yosef Razin. Before the war, Rabbi Yosef Razin was one of the biggest rabbi of his generation, and his nickname is the genius from Rogochov. He was born in Rogochov. I'm not sure where is it. I think Rogochov is also in Lithuania, but in the other side. Huh?
I don't know. It's Dvinsky in Latvia. It's the border city with Latvia and Russia.
One second.
Daugavpils, yeah.
Rokachev for me sounds again Ukrainian something, I think.
Ukrainian.
Yeah, or Belarus.
Yeah, something like that.
One
Sounds
second.
Slavonic.
One second. Rogochov.
I would say Ukraine probably. Rokachev, Gorbachev, all the stuff right there. Yeah. Probably Ukraine. Yeah, I think.
I don't know where is it. I'm writing Rogochov and it's just giving me him, the Rogochover, but not the place.
You have to write in English.
Yes.
But maybe this place is not.
Yes, it's
Still
not.
should be in Google. No, I mean even if it's not now
One
having
second.
another name, it should be still somewhere.
Rogochov. Rahashov. Where is it? Belarus.
Oh yeah.
Belarus.
So Abraham was right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Sounds yeah Slavonic.
Okay. Okay. So this is one explanation by him. He was a very interesting rabbi, one in generation, and one in many generations, we can say, because it was something unbelievable. Okay. Now, let's try and understand a little bit the story. We have something very interesting. In the beginning of the 40 years, God telling Moshe, take the stick and punch the stone. After 40 years, God telling Moshe, take the stick, do not punch the stone. This itself needs explanation. And I don't have a simple explanation. But there is something that we can learn from it. The Midrash giving an explanation. And the Midrash saying that when God took this, God told Moshe to take the stick, God telling Moshe, but do not punch the stone. Because when you're talking to a kid, in the beginning, you need to punch him maybe. But when he grows up, you need to speak to him. This is the Midrash. And this is actually very, very nice explanation, if you think about it. In the beginning of the 40 years, Jewish people were a nation of slaves. Nation that their mentality was slave. They were barely Jews. They were 100% Jews, but they were barely there. They didn't feel free people. They didn't feel connected to something. They didn't know explanations. For generations, they knew only orders. And they didn't have what to drink. Sometimes, when you see a stone, when you see a stone, heart of stone, you need to punch it. You need to punch it. Because you need to get this attention. Of course, we're not talking only about physical punch. Mostly not about physical punch. We're talking about also in speaking. There is a joke. that one Jew came to the market and said that he's selling a donkey. But this is a very special donkey. It's a donkey that you don't need to punch him. You only need to talk to him. You understand what he's saying and he will do everything that you said. Of course, the price was very, very high. And came this person, this lucky guy that he said, I will buy this donkey, $50,000. And he did the deal, he paid, and then he starts speaking to the donkey, run, run. The donkey not moving. Start yelling, explaining, the donkey not moving. So he came to the owner, to the seller, telling him, you lied to me. This donkey doesn't understand. So the owner said, I will show you how you do it. He take a stick, he punching the donkey and screaming, run, run, and the donkey running. So he telling the owner, the seller, you didn't spoke to the donkey, you gave him a punch. So the owner said, you don't understand, this is only to get this attention. I needed to catch the attention of the donkey. So you punching him. But after you speak, he understand everything. So this may be a joke, but sometimes the kid is a kid. You cannot start explaining to the kid that's running in the street, you need to stop run. You're just grabbing in the hand and, okay, stop, now stop. You cannot run to the road. Because he's a kid. The question is, what happened after 40 years? After 40 years, we need to remember, in the Jewish nation, 40 years means a new generation. This is not the same people that came out of Egypt. Those are new people, new generation totally, that want to go, that will go inside Israel. You came out of Aham? No, where are you? You unmute.
I have to change my room because I have to charge the phone.
No, it was look outside in the dark, but you not.
No, this is my wall in the kitchen.
Yes, I understand.
It's actually board to the right something.
Yeah? So
Yeah.
you can write recipes.
Yes, this is the board for the, like in school, but it's the special colors.
Yeah. I understand. Very nice. So, if after 40 years, a new generation, Moshe still looking at them as kids. Moshe still, God telling them, they have a stone heart, it's true. But you still need to punch him to consider him as a kid, or he grown in the last 40 years, he educated, he learned something. And this is the sin. The sin is to look on a kid after 40 years and said he didn't understand a thing. We need to treat him the same way. And this is a sin. This kid was grown. He understood much. You cannot punch him. You cannot be harsh. Now, it will need explanation. And it's also connected to another detail in the story. The story was that the Torah telling us that Moshe did not only punch the stone, he punched the stone twice. What's the difference? If you're speaking in a way that the kid understanding, you need to speak to him once. What is speaking? The both of the ways we're talking about speaking. The question is if you commanding him in a harsh way with the stick, or you commanding him in a way that he feeling connected to what you're telling them to do. You educating him, in other words. If you're educating him, you don't need to explain twice. But if you're commanding him, it's 1 and 2. and more times after that. So this is the difference between to educate and to have the stick, to punch. And after 40 years, the Jewish people were a different people. They were people that, it's true that they have a stone heart. They don't understand everything. But after that, the best way to treat them is by explanation, by speaking, not by the stick. And there is, I exactly today learned it in a different subject, but it's really, really connected. In Tanya, there is a chapter that the Alter Rebbe, the author of Tanya, talking about a problem. Certain Jew doing all the mitzvot is perfect, and he have his routine. He's coming, waking in the morning, going to synagogue, thinking about God, about the purpose of life. Every day his heart opens up. He's feeling connected. He's feeling happy. He have a lot of feeling inside that helping him observe everything and do not fall in not to fail in small things that can bother him during the day. He's using his time to learn, and he's not thinking about anything else. Very good person. But sometimes this person have difficulty with his heart. He's doing his routine. He's waking up in the morning, going to synagogue, start thinking about God, but his heart closed. He doesn't feel anything. The Alter Rebbe talking about specific person, yes, not a regular person, of course. Person that is righteous. He's not a simple person, but of course the idea connected to every person. So this person feeling that his heart is closed. So the Alter Rebbe telling him, sometimes you need to use the stick. And the Alter Rebbe giving example from last week Parashat. 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago was the story of the spies. Spies coming back from Israel, telling the Jewish people it's problem, we will not go there. And our sages telling us, and Rashi saying it, in the end the Jewish people said and believed that God don't have the power to conquer the land of Israel. From the ecstasa, they spoke so much against, and they came to a situation that they didn't believe in the power of God. They said He cannot take us inside. The Israeli, the Canaanites, the nations that inside Israel are stronger. What was the continuation of the story? The Alter Rebbe said, look, it's amazing. God revealing Himself to Moshe, telling Moshe, all of those people will die. They will stay in the desert, will not enter Israel. They are bad people. Moshe telling this in a harsh way to the Jewish nation. Moshe said, in this desert your corpse will stay. And until when you will be such a bad group of people? And twice he's saying the word bad. What is the response of the Jewish nation? They start crying, and then they're telling Moshe, let's go inside Israel right now. They start going, they're marching, and Moshe need to stop them not to go inside Israel. The Alter Rebbe asked, 5 minutes ago you said God cannot conquer Israel. Moshe starts screaming, you are bad people, you will die here, and you suddenly believing again? What's your problem? And the Alter Rebbe said something amazing. Jewish people believing. They don't have a problem. Of course they believed. But for some reasons, sometimes the bad side of us, or the side that is more relaxed, more cold, doesn't want to feel the excitement, doesn't want to believe so much, taking control. If sometimes it taking very much control, and you saying some things, in those moments, of course, you're believing in those things. You're saying God cannot enter Israel. No, you see what's going on there, the giants and everything. He cannot. What you should do? You should scream. What do you want? If you explaining in a harsh way, you're using the stick to explain to the bad side of you, that you are a bad side, you are not a good side. Of course I'm believing in God, and you just disturbing me. You're using the stick a little bit, so the bad side, the natural side, will come back to his place in the corner of your heart until the next time. But sometimes the stick, this is a way to awake, to being awake. Sometimes you're falling asleep, the bad side taking control a little bit, and you start having doubts. In belief, you start, this and this. Sometimes you just, hello, what are you talking about? There is God, and I am a Jew, and I am a believer, and stop disturbing me. And this is exactly what Moshe did to the Jewish nation after they said those things against God. Moshe telling them, stop being so foolish. You will all die here in the desert. And he said, you're right. And this is maybe the stick and the words and the speaking that we can take to our life. Of course, we need to do everything with explanations because we are adults. We cannot work with the stick. We are educated and we don't taking orders. But sometimes you just start losing control because you're being a little bit tired. And so the natural start awaking a little bit. Start, maybe this, maybe that. Start having doubts. Start having questions. And you're just telling yourself, stop. You are a Jew and you are a believer. And you should stop fooling yourself. Use a little bit the stick and remind the natural, the bad side. I'm calling it bad, of course it's not bad. It is bad, but it's the instincts, the natural instincts that we all have to doubt or to feel a little bit cold, to being protected from being. We have a program that protecting us from being foolish. So we are always asking questions. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we are Jews, sons of Jews, and we have all the belief inside us. So stop being so foolish. And this is the stick in the speaking in our parasha. I hope it was understood. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.
Actually, it's really interesting and it sounds really logical.